here. And in today's stream, I've got an idea of an art piece that I doodled whilst at work. So I will have a actually doing a nice piece. I don't think I've done one in a while. Like a proper. I've done some doodling for my games jam. I've done bits here and there, but I don't think I've done any actual proper drawing in a while. So I tried to do some sketching practice last week, but it was a bit lackluster. I wasn't really into it last week. So, but this week I have an idea. So the idea is essentially kind of like a demon sorcerer kind of thing. And it's just really this kind of like character with a kind of like a pope slash kind of like churchy hat thing. Just hope like this or something. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're quite called, but obviously you can't see its face. The idea was that it literally just had 2 eyes, similar to like the Black Mage in Final Fantasy. You may just see part of its face. Wow. Now, let's see. Because the original design, it had kind of like this thing going on where you could see the shoulders, but I kind of don't want to do that on there. On this, kind of want to keep it the same. So I kind of want to keep the things because it's meant to be more of a shadowy figure. So seeing the shoulders, so even the hands are going to be more like a withered, is what I'm going to probably try and go for. So the hands are going to be quite shadowy, with kind of like an orb in the middle. Kind of like it's a medium of some kind, I suppose. Obviously it needs a scarf, so I'm going to need to shrink this because I've done it too large. Good evening, Firewall. Good evening. I am good. Better than last week where I was very sleepy whilst doing this. But today I have an idea, which is always a good thing. because I was thinking that I've not properly done any art pieces in a while. So I want to have a bit of a crack. With making one. So, bit earlier as well today, so I should be able to do some a decent amount of it, I suppose. Over or under? I think over would probably be best, but like I said, I'm gonna shrink this down a little. Because I feel like I went a bit too eager. It doesn't have any legs because it's, like I said, it's more of a shadowy figure. So that's not too bad, but right. So that's roughly it. Let's get this scale down a little because it is slightly too long. There we go. We can just have this. Really? Looks more like a orca. Ah, you are not wrong. Yeah. I'll give you that. I was thinking more Final Fantasy. Yeah, that's all good. Because what is it? Black Mage. But yeah, I was thinking about this guy. But there is a few of these afoot, it seems. And I'm putting my own in the midst. The one of them you can't see anything. The other one you can see some hands and ears. Fair enough. So, right, so that's scaled. I'm going to put some... I need a symbol of some kind to kind of point it, because it's like a... Yeah. So... It is technically something specific, so it's meant to be like a shadowy demon priest thing. Yeah. And so it's got his kind of like robes, which are kind of meant to be like the kind of holy garb kind of vibe it's meant to be. So I'm going to probably be using a bit more, mostly white for the clothing, and maybe some red and or some golden colours. So I was kind of thinking of getting like a little symbol at the end of here, but I'm not quite sure what that symbol is just yet. So we'll I'll have to work on that one. See, because that's too complicated. That's over the top. I don't want it to float that far. I want it to go up a bit more down. Don't want it to be really overly flowy. Maybe just in the sleeves. Can't forget the bling. So it's meant to be wearing some rings. Big on alarm. We have started already. So we have some foam. Let me get some of this grey. So it's kind of meant to be. So he's floating, and I was actually not going to be ripping it because obviously I'm meant. I'm going to try and give it the kind of clean vibe. Because I know generally with these kinds of things, that everyone kind of always gives them sometimes rips and stuff, but I kind of wanted to give this like a proper clean, kind of pristine vibe. Do I like that? No, I don't. Oops. I'm on the wrong layer. There we go. No, still not liking it. Right, let's do more line out. You go down. You go back up. I actually want to shrink it a bit more. There we go. Get me pen, get me... So I've been trying to do very consistent lines, so let's stick with that. So what size should I use for this? 5? 5's... 5 works, but it's a bit too thin for this size, so go... 20's too much. So maybe 10 or 15. We'll go for a 12. 12 pixel brush. So because most of this is symmetrical, I'm going to use the symmetry tool. So then I get, and then once I've finished, I can go through it again, because this isn't going to be my final pass through, because I don't believe so anyway. Because this will be too symmetrical doing it this way, but it gets me a clear it's better symmetry than just trying to eyeball it. The Flatwoods Monster. What is that one? Oh, yeah. I see where you're coming from with that. Apparently Fallout have done one. Yeah, still a decent image though. Suppose it's this one. It's Kind of get what you're on about with that. Quite similar-esque. So one thing that he's going to change is these hands, because these hands definitely aren't going to be as symmetrical. As they currently are. That is a good indicator of where I should really be putting things. So I'm going to bring this out a little bit. So I said I didn't want the floor, but I think I need at least a little bit of give. Not too bad. Not too bad. Let's go for a hard brush. And if I just all of this in. I need to go on there. Still some detail missing, but back to the 12 pixel brush. Interesting cryptid. Famous cryptid. Hmm. So we need to bundle that. There we go. Again, I've got this here that should be holding something, but I'm just not quite sure what. Right, okay. Okay. So I had a thought. And I know I shouldn't have too many of this. But if I bring this... Do I want to do that? No, I don't. Interesting, but not what I want. I want formless. That's what I want. I want this to look as well. Now I am scribbling, just so. Trying to get an idea, because I had the form, so all this form is kind of what I've imagined, so I kind of had that. But it's like, there's a bit missing to this that I'm not 100% on. Yeah. So it's like I said, it's meant to be like more of a shadowy figure. Oh yeah. I suppose I could do that. I'll have to have a look there. Back to this brush, and sorry, down 12. Because I do have a few details still left to add. this is actually meant to go. All the way to the bottom. And why not? Okay, connect it there. Could use the line tool for that, but oh well. I think that needs running in a bit. And now I've been starting to draw on the smog lines. So let me get rid of this. Let's just delete it all. Delete it all. Go back to this line. 12. Mm-hmm. Oh, let's have a ganders. Oh, okay. Seal of Paimon. There we go. First things first, let's try and scale this. And then see what we can do with this. Kind of works. Interesting. Definitely a lot complicated. Yeah, it's definitely a lot easier. I don't think it would be too tricky to draw it from scratch. I'll see if I can draw it from scratch. I've got the image. It's not. Surely it shouldn't be too hard. So you got swirly, and this is. It's going into an N. We got swirly here, swirly here. Weird question mark thing. Recircled on top. Where is that running through? Here. It's roughly right. And then use the I'd say if I was making this physically, it might actually be easier than digitally for me, because I do use a lot of pencils, but I'd probably use a coin or a circle of some kind if I were to draw it. Because I'd have all the I'd probably just make like, because it's a lot of circles. With bigger circles. I mean, a lot of circles in this. I mean, I think the only bits that aren't circles are quite literally like these bits here, and the straight lines. that's just an arch. That's why I said you use a coin. It's just a coin. Or anything round, really. I mean, keyring. This thing I've got's pretty round. Probably work. Anywho. Well, anyway, I'll need to look into those. Back to it. Anyway, whoops, on the wrong colour. Yeah, that is a good. I do feel like there is a lot of thing about fan art, but fan art's art. You're drawing something, you're doing it. It's like what's most art practice anyway, if not copying something. Yeah. So I think it's more of a style thing. I don't, some people just, or should I say, art schools just don't think they care much. I mean, the curriculum probably not. People who are teaching it, some of the people who are teaching it probably actually don't mind it, but the curriculum just doesn't care for it, probably. I mean, I don't see why not. Yeah, perfectly fine is that. I mean, who doesn't want a Jesus back character? I think I saw like an episode. If it's the one I'm thinking of, anyway. Oh, I've seen, yeah. Yeah, I've not really watched it, but I've seen a bit of it. The style of it looks interesting, though. It's not, because I find it quite interesting when you get like anime styles which kind of go all kind of in on like the musculature and kind of like getting people insanely ripped for no reason. I mean, because it's not the same level, because obviously I think Baki's probably different compared to like Dragon Ball, because yeah, whilst they're shredded, I suppose would be a word for it. They're not. It's not that thingy, but yeah, there's not as much definition in Dragon Ball when it comes to kind of like detail about the physical form, whereas Baki's art style, like you said, does lean into that a lot. And to be fair, there's I don't think it's actually a manga, but I'll say a manhwa. So, which is Breaker, and then obviously the next one from that, Breaker: The New Waves, which had a great art style. Because that did emphasize style, the kind of like muscles and stuff as well in its art style, which you kind of lost when it went into like color. You know, when it started doing more of the whatchamacallit, webtoon style, it turned a bit more webtoony, unfortunately. But they had some great things. And you mentioned that's what you were mentioning, they put a lot of emphasis on the nose and lips of the characters, which is practically never seen in modern anime. Yeah, I agree. Most animes don't bother. Let's see if we can get some images. I mean, I will say it does the facial kind of thing. I know you've got a lot. It does remind me a bit more of Berserk a little. The facial vibes, but what? They don't care much about being overly realistic with body shapes, I don't think. I feel like this is not quite a realistic body shape. Just there might just be a little too scrawny here. No matter how much you train, I don't think you're getting that thin there and that jacked there. Yeah, look, it's Squidward. I'm gonna call it Squidward Bob. Yeah, let's give him. But yeah. no, I was on about. I was on Breaker. Yeah, these guys had some flair in their artwork. Like I said, they did do like body tones, like they had everyone with kind of like a different physique. Would probably be a thing on. Like obviously the main guy is quite scrawny, but whereas you get like the teacher who's quite muscular. He is very cool. Like I said, they lost a bit of the appeal of the artwork when they went over to kind of the newest style when they came back for the third installment of it. But what can you do? Yeah, at least we get more story. Now, what can I do with this? Feel like there is something I could do with this. Just not 100% sure what. Let's see. Oh yeah, the first two, Breaker and Breaker the New Waves, had a great set of grayscaling, and the way they used it was just it added dramatic flair to it. I mean, I need to show you this one because it's just like there is a part where someone just goes rabid, and it's like they're breathing out, and they just the way they use the darks and lights is just great. Let's see. So oh, that's definitely a better one. There's just so many good panels in this that it's just, like I said, just so worth looking at. But it's like just the way they kind of I mean, I don't think this is the best one, but it's the first one that came up. This one's probably better, actually. Just kind of the way it does, like, the aura. Like, almost is on fire. And they do that throughout the entire series. They'll have, like, this aura kind of thing for everyone. Really nice. Back is not what I would call a good show, but it's supremely entertaining. Yeah, well, to be fair, entertaining is the main thing. Ooh, you're posting things. Bear in mind, there is a 90s anime you have to watch before jumping into the more recent ones. So what are these? So what is this? This bit. Oh, The Crow. Comic of James O'Brien. Nice. Not too bad. I do like the kind of like black and white style that you get with these kinds of things. I mean, I'd say it's probably slightly different from what you get with most manga, because I mean, you're probably going to get a manga like this and all that, but don't know, just feel like it's, you just get like darker things like this from American comics a bit more. Like this table, with it all being blacked out, and then just the dribbling of the alcohol, beer bottle, gun, person themselves. Just the background is irrelevant. Yeah. I do like it. I will have to agree with them. Sometimes a simple palette speaks louder volumes than 100 colors. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, having color is great, but I also think the way that you use it. So there is a comic that I've read. I think it's only got 3 volumes to it. Because I prefer reading volumes rather than issues. So it's called Nomen Omen. And that comic is pretty much entirely in black and white, except for certain parts, because the main character is colorblind, hence why the entire comics is in black and white, but they can see magic in color. So whenever magic is used, it always has a color. And then she has these dreams where everything's in color, but because she doesn't know what colors is it all just looks weird to her, and it's a really interesting way to use color in a comic. So, like I said, it's like... So, this is actually a panel from the comic. So, everything is in kind of like it's black and white, except for magic. Anything that is magical is being displayed in color. So obviously this blue apparition is a clone of the main character. I don't know why she knows it's blue. That's the only thing I don't know. She does not know colors. How does she know it's blue? She doesn't know this is green either, because no one else can see things in magic in colors. So how does she know what color's what? Yeah. So yeah. So this was a cool way of using color in a comic as well. So if you ever want to, interesting use, and it's also based on fairy tales, I think, folk tales. So yeah, interesting. Where were we? So I think I've got, for the most part, this sussed. I don't think I need it. Oh, sorting out the collar. Sorting out this. So I want to figure out where his shoulders are. And the anatomy from constantly copying the anatomy of statues you found in museums. Well, that's again another way to learn anatomy, because where did people learn anatomy from? Well, from looking at pictures, or people or things. I mean, a person is technically just a statue when they're stood there and you're drawing it, and it's like, so it's like, it's pretty much the same thing. And to be fair, some of the older statues obviously are probably more accurate representations of body proportions as well. Yeah, because they were quite keen on getting those. I mean, there were obviously flourishes, I'm assuming, as well, with some statues, but for the most part, I think most statues are quite based in reality. And mutilated bodies. Well, yeah. Gotta start somewhere. Yeah, well, that's what I think when people say it's like, should I go to art school and stuff? That's probably one of the things. It's like, well, it's situational, and it's like, and it's personal. It's like, one, do you want a piece of paper that says that you can do art? or they can critique art or whatever it is that the art school's teaching. If you want the piece of paper, go for it. If you don't think you need it, then and you don't really want to do that, then don't do that. I find that a lot of whenever I hear of like art schools, it's like there is a lot of history going into it, and I'm just like, honestly, couldn't care about the history of it. No offense to the artwork, but I don't need to know about a guy who did some random painting I'm never going to look at 100 years ago. Yeah. I like art, but I'm very particular. And to be fair, I like the newer stuff. And obviously it seems this guy was very particular about his. So... Let's see. Let's go down to 10. And because of the little frills, you can't really see the arms, but I feel like if I did show them, they'd actually be going quite short. Because they'd be going like right here. It's got long arms, by the way, because if you haven't noticed, there's his technically his shoulder would be here. He's got an arm here, and then he's got his arm here. It's like, this is one hell of a long arm. Because if his elbow's here, it's about... his arm would technically come down to about here. That's some long arms. What have I... See, I like the sketch layer because it always adds that little bit of flair to it, but I don't need it. Yeah, it'd be a art history, but I feel like when they're going to art, they always they need to explain like the fundamentals, and they always bring up examples of other people and how they've used the fundamentals. It's like, look at this artist and how they've done it, but they don't bring anything modern into it as far as I'm aware. But again, I've not done an art course, so I wouldn't really know. But well, that is the thing. It is a case of, it's like, well, what are you drawing? Is it human? It's like, well, yeah, then your proportions are off. Might want to rein them in a bit. Not everyone's proportions are actually quite accurate. Some people have shorter arms, some people have short legs, some people have longer legs and arms. Everyone's quite different. So proportions are, again, proportional to the person you're trying to draw. Could be trying to draw someone with really long legs. Yeah, in that case, you've succeeded. I'm drawing a demon. Does it matter that his arms and legs are not the perfect size for his frame? No, because he's a demon. Doesn't really matter, does it? So, yeah, I get that. People are always on about thingy, but it's boring. No, it's alright. I remember when we were at uni, it's like, I think Dave has literally done a traced over himself, and then they went to him. It's like, oh, the proportions are off, and it's just like, how the off? He's traced himself. Literally trace, and it's like it's still off. Yeah, so it's quite amusing. Tis but an amusing. Yes, an amusing notion. Right. So, I want to get some colour down. I like having a bit of colour. No, I'll get rid of that layer. New layer. I'm going to use this because the ink on precision is faint, so it doesn't. It's not like a solid brush. So we have some gold attire. That might change partially how the hat looks. At this bit here, where this, I might make it so then it just goes all the way across. So it's got a bit of a hem to it. Okay. It definitely needs a bit more gold, so gold cuffs. And why not? There we go. And this is going to have gold only at the bottom. And this one's just going to have a gold seal here. That's generally how it's probably going to look. Ooh. What? Because I feel like these things on the arms are jewels of some kind. What colour would I make them? Is it red, blue, or green? Let's try red. What? I'm colouring in white. Hello. Purple with lavender highlights. Purple with lavender highlights could work as well. It'd make it look Is that the jewel that you're on about with that? Oh, I guess I can do that. It's meant to be quite slightly demonic, I suppose. Whoops. So let's take off that. Let's go over. I want some. So it looks like something. Maybe something like that. But purple seems alright. Let me have a play with that. Let me duplicate it in a minute. Right. Filter adjustments, or where am I looking here? So I don't really want to go no to the green. Purple's not bad, but yellow just seems too much. Purple's not bad, but maybe a different shade. Just trying to give it that little bit of extra colour. And then over here, don't think that's too bad. Though I have went and skipped ahead into doing shading, which is not great, but yeah, I'm just getting a feel for the overall piece at this point, I suppose. Now the hands, I'm gonna go. Do I want to be pure black? So I can get this grey going. I'm gonna try and. Because obviously they're gonna have some gold bling. But what I actually wanted to do was get some white. I need to do this over the top of the line art. So. Kind of almost like a wooden pattern is what I was thinking. Yeah, I can have a look. Long time in. Yeah, I'll probably stop here and then I'll have a look at your things now if you want. Probably go for another half an hour-ish, maybe a bit longer. But yeah, if you post up what you want me to look at, I'll have a look once you've uploaded them. Yeah, like I said, I think I'm close to finishing up, so let's have a ganders. Yeah. See what we got here. Let's see what we got here. Right. Start with this one. And you give us some reference. So we can use it. We'll have a put that on there as well. Copy image. Right. Now you let me copy the image. No, copy if I use the right buttons. Copy it. Paste. There we go. There we go. I figured out how to use my own stuff. So, interesting. So I'll look at this a bit more. Look at this a bit. Make image back up. Yes, come along all right. To be fair, as the demon priest thing. I was trying to do like a withered wooden effect with a hand, but I think I need a bit more. Need a few more attempts on that one, I think. So. So once again, your forms are looking good. So we've got a some weird creatures apparently. They're like meant to be like ant ears or something, and with the long things. It's very strange. So let me pull up. Something for comparison. Where are we looking? This thing. Now this one is an old one. Oh, I would kind of is what I'd probably say more of. I think you've went too far in certain spots. So the fact that you've actually, so basically this is like one of the earliest ones you sent me. I don't think I had any reference for that. Yeah, that's fine. So this one's interesting. So basically, you've done the claws here, and you've done them, and you've shaded them in black. So you did them all black. I probably wouldn't have done that because, as you can see, obviously on the image, they are technically white. And again, it's just little things. It's like, I would say. So what I would say would be a really good thing to try and practice is get an image. So, or just do one of your images and just do it over and over again, and just try different methods of shading. So this method of shading is not a bad method. Like I said, you just overworked it, I think. Just a little. In certain areas, but not enough in others. So if I get an actual layer I can doodle on. So, okay. Yeah. So like underneath here could have actually been a bit darker, because obviously you've got a darker part here. But again, the method is, because like I said, you showed me something similar. That they do. You have to work with it. But and again, I feel like knowing when to stop and start the shading. Like, you've gone very heavy. I'm gonna use a green. So you've gone very heavy at the top of this leg, which I don't think it needed. It gives you a lot of information about the leg, but you could probably have toned that down to just like either this side or and a bit over to this side. But again, like I said, I think it's just more a case of you just need to kind of, when you're looking at the image, just try and break down some of the shadows. Well, experimenting is key. So if you were just experimenting and you just wanted to kind of go really heavy, then it's fine. But obviously, I'm looking at the comparisons here, and this is what I'm doing. It's like I'm just looking at comparisons. I would say that if you were going to go this heavy, again, there is one thing I would say, because who is that artist again? You just mentioned him, King of Rats. Just have a look. Because again, as I said before, I don't really look at lots of styles, so I can only give advice on the style I have. Sure you posted some of the work before. Oh yeah, this one. This one was the one I was thinking of. Because obviously, kind of know. Copy image. Here's the image. Because obviously with this kind of thing, obviously you are going a bit more loosey-goosey with your shading, which is kind of what you went here, but I believe, a bit more. Well, in this it's a little less methodical and a bit more haphazard, which I don't think I could say I'm going to do any better, but because again, when I work physically, that is the case. One thing I'd say is try and so, because I know you're using pen and paper, I'm just trying to figure out a way that you can do certain things. So, right. Because you're using grid paper anyway, you could, I mean, try and grid the image you're using. Because obviously I'm sure you've seen this method before. I've not used this, I'll be honest. And just try and figure out what's in a certain quadrant of it. And obviously if you're using square paper, it's quite simple. But again, it's just trying to find the shapes in the drawing. It's like, and replicating them is the be on and end all, to be honest. So because generally when I'm looking at art, I'm always looking at where points meet. So like I'm like, okay, so that's there. What's kind of in line with this? So like, okay, the claw's almost there. And where's the claw? The claw's, well, the claw's slightly up above this thing, and then, yeah, where's this? This one, well, the claw does kind of this thing, so this should be this shape and this shape. It's I'm not giving really great advice tonight, I don't think. Like I said, because you're currently doing, working in progress. Your anatomy is getting better. Observation, I think you can just need to observe it a bit more, especially the finer details, like just having a look at like the feathers, and just think it's like, okay, so I've got these feathers, how am I going to draw them? So obviously the way you've drawn them is just kind of do this kind of whatever you want to call it, this kind of arch thing, which is fine. Don't think there's, just trying to figure out what I can say that I've not already said before. It is, again, you're getting like the basics down, and I'm not saying I'm great at the basics, but trial and error. So yeah, one thing I'll say about this, the smaller details, is all these are all facing the same way. So there's no additional overlap. So it's like you get like this piece here. It's actually overlapping the ones next to it. So it's like, well, at least it looks that way from my perspective. And if you are using like the this kind of method, for the most part, I'd say try and stick to one direction. But again, I know you're trying to find that look. So, because I feel like, for me, I don't generally deal with the finer details until like right at the end. So it's like, obviously I've got like this thing, I'm not going to do much with that. All this, it's like that's all end game stuff. I generally try and get the forms there first and then work on the finer stuff. So, I mean, if I were drawing this bit here, I'd probably just block it out rather than thingy. And I would then just figure out, okay, what I'm actually trying to get from here. I'll just try and do it from there. But shapes and just a little bit more observation about where your shadows are. Just because if you're only using, like you are, two tones essentially, it's very clear that you need to be a bit more aware of where you're putting your lines for your shadows, because it's like, because you can scribble all you want, and if it has the desired outcome that you like, that's fine. But I feel like, again, like I said, I keep saying, it's like this is all kind of me, because everyone has their own kind of thing with art anyway. It's like, sure, I can draw my eyes like this, or draw an eye like this. It's like, some people might hate that style of eye. Yeah. Some people might not like eyes all in general. Some people might just do that for an eye. Yeah. But everyone has their own way of doing it. So I'd just say figure out how you want to look at the smaller details, and also still try and figure out the shapes. Shapes are great. That's my general thing. I'm rambling again anyway. But overall, this image isn't too bad. Like I said, I think the main issue I would state is probably the arm and leg here. And that's just due to the fact that you've, well, for this bit, it's the overness of the shading. Whereas for this bit, you've kind of not grasped the roundness of the arm. So your arm just kind of looks a bit funnily. Not bad. Yeah. Yeah, well, I strive for not terrible. That's mine. That's what I strive for generally. Well, it's not terrible, but And yeah, so reposted some of the ones I was looking for. Oh yeah, this one. This is a great one because this is. So this one does do that thing that you were. So where it does these weird strokes, but I would say the difference between that one and what you've done is intention. So let me bring it back up so I can show you what I mean. So whereas you've got these kind of strokes going here, are you going to let me draw, please? Sure. It will when it's not like 1 pixel. Right, so yeah, so you've got like all these strokes this side going every which direction, whereas while he does, majority of them are going in one direction. So he's got these ones which they've used purposefully to signal that, okay, this thing's kind of turning. And it's like, obviously all this is just to signify hair. And they've just got this kind of... Well, obviously, I think they're using pencil, aren't they? So, but I don't think they've really erased anything. They kind of just let things lie as they are. And they've just went in full colour or coloured things in where they need to, left things where they need to. But when it comes to kind of like doing like the scratching, it's generally most prominent again at the smaller details. Even this nose bit even has, they're all going in a single uniform direction along that area. So I think that's one of the things that obviously this is lacking, as well as a bit of shape. The other one, which I will say is quite an interesting one. Boom. See, I don't think the shading on this one is actually that bad. I think it actually works quite well for this one. Because the bone's quite dense, so you kind of want to show the density of it, which is, yeah, not too bad. Again, probably could do with a bit more so obviously like the brighter areas, obviously. So you went pretty dark on it, on most of it. Whereas you have kept some of the lightness of this on it. And it does look like you've also followed a lot more of the forms of the shadows on this. So like I said, why? Why? Why do you hate it, sir? What be the reason? other than the fact that they are technically a pin. But, and again, I would say observation, and shape. So, because obviously this is quite the. Let's just actually do this. And so it's like if this is essentially the shape. Just making it a bit more easier to see without making it totally solid black. So if I scale that up slightly, so it's just about again the shape. So so what you've done on this is quite interesting actually. So everything in this image, is symmetrical except not symmetrical, it's asymmetrical. Whichever symmetrical is mirrored. Oh. So everything's quite mirrored except for like this bit, which is kind of like one for one. This has it here and here, which is why this side looks slightly wrong, because obviously you've attached it to the far end when it should be attached to this piece here. So it should have actually come down here, and then you've had your piece over that side. So again, just a bit of observation and just breaking down. Also the gap that's technically meant to be here by the looks of it. Provided that is a gap, it could just be a slightly different shade. Fair dues. It is definitely convenient to have a bit more symmetry. And to be fair, like I said, it's quite interesting to see on this image that is the only part of this foot that is not overtly symmetrical. So it's quite interesting because even the arms are quite very much the same. But again, I think the shading's not too bad on this. The scratchiness is fine because obviously the texture of it, but no, it's not. I agree. It's not. This isn't. I quite like this one. Again, like with every single piece of artwork out there, there's always going to be something you go, I could do better. Or there's not me saying that. It's like when you look at your own piece and you go, oh, there's something on there I could do better. Or people who look at it and just go, it's like, they didn't really do that too well, did they? It's just like, Maybe, maybe not. God, tired. Maybe that's the effect you're trying to go for. But like I said, I think the shading effect worked well in this instance. Again, a little bit of more scribbling than structure in just a few areas, but it seemed more like you've looked more closely at the smaller details. Probably a bit more. Again. I apologise, but no. If you think you've done a good job, I think you think you've done a good job. But yeah, so that's thingy. Head again. I could pick up small details. The skull is technically flatter, but irrelevant. Yeah. No one's ever going to draw anything exactly the same. Oh, but again, it's just practice shading. Try and switch up how you're going to shade something. Shade the same thing 3 different ways. Even if it's not the same shading that's in the reference as well. So, like, you've got this, you know where all the shadows are with this, but what if you go, okay, well, what if I decide I don't want the shadows there? How about I put all the shadows in a different spot? So what if all the shadows are like over here? Yeah, and then there's a really bright light that's shining down over this side here. Yeah, and switch it up, because obviously this part's also going to get hit by light. Yeah, but the back's not. How's that going to look? Well, the skull had a different shape. The overall structure of it was there. I can't remember what yours reminds me of, but yours reminds me of something. Just because it's not. But and like I said, I think that's just due to the shape of it. Because the structure of it, I think, is relatively the same. You've got your thing there. You've got this bit here. You missed out the nose bit slightly. I think that's slightly off, but nitpicking now. But yeah, I definitely suggest just try and do a little more observation training or practice. I won't say training. Observation practice. Yeah. Which you generally do anyway when you do normal drawing. Yeah, because obviously because when you're looking at these pictures, that's exactly what you are doing anyway. You're doing like an observation drawing. One thing that we did was we copied the image whilst it was upside down, which gives us a different perspective. And that is not the fact that we did the drawing upside down. It was just that our reference image was upside down. and that's what we had to use. And obviously we had to draw this the right side up. Weird exercise. Gets your brain thinking though. Yeah. Or just drawing a face in general. This style is also weird. But yeah. So yeah, I think that's everything. To be honest, there's not a lot I can say with them because obviously they're not bad. Yeah, especially this one. I quite like the swimmer skeleton called Tomorrows. I'll be honest, it looks quite funky when it's upside down. Looks like the hands are more like horns. Strange. The rib cage is upside down, and its hands are tiny arms and hands are connected to it. But yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I can say. I don't really have much to say on this today. Horseman. Let's have a look. I'm spelling that correctly, Arthur. Well, that's an interesting one. Put up. See, this is again an interesting one. But less is more, is what this one's telling me. Whilst I have used some scratch shading, as I'll call it, there is very little area that uses it. It also looks like they use some actual shading as well to go alongside it in this. But yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, there's a couple of other pieces from this guy. I mean, assuming this is the correct guy anyway. Yeah. Again, this is more cross-hatching on this as well. Some just like general singular strokes, just to hint at the wrinkliness of the skin. But yeah, you seem to know a lot of guys with some strange artwork. Yes, I will be leaving now, so I bid people farewell. I shall be going, and I hope that my rambling of advice was at any point helpful to anyone. But yeah, no, you get some funky stuff. Does this guy, and you find some right weird stuff with artwork. I don't actually go out to look for a lot of artwork because it's like when I see something, the artwork I like, I'll find it either fairs or comics and mangas and stuff, or find other people who've done things or references when I'm looking for that. But yeah, I've never really gone out just to find some guy's artwork and go, oh, that's thinking. In fact, before I do go, who was it? There was someone that I actually found that I just really did like. They do modeling kind of artwork more than anything, and they are slightly creepy pieces of artwork. So it's Tanya Gomeliskaya. I butchered that last name. Yeah, and they do some interesting artworks. Let's see if I can't bring any up for the last 2 seconds. View gallery. Right, so we'll bring this into this screen. I think that should show up on here. Yeah. So this is through his books, Altamore and Wynne. Alien ecosystem book called The Expedition. Nice. Yeah, I was literally going through like YouTube or something, and these came up, and I just thought, oh, these look. And it was just like the sculptures, because so she's painted a picture and then she's sculpted the hands out of and stuff like that, and it just looks so weird. Yeah. And it is one of those where it's just like, what? Immense creativity is what I'd call this. Yeah. Which is fine. But anyway, very gnarly, but very interesting. It's again. What was the name again? Well, it's Tanya. Gomelskaya. Tanya Gomelskaya. Again, but butchered it. But yeah, it's just interesting artworks. probably ain't gonna buy one because I think when I was looking at that gallery, it said one of them like $4,000. It's like, no, thank you. But anyways, yes, take care. Have a nice rest of the week yourself, and I will see people later. Oh, bye bye.